Welcome to another edition of Off Grid with Horses. I'm Russell.
And I'm Alex. Russell and I are going to share true life adventures of our lives with horses on our Colorado mountain ranch.
We live way off grid at 9,300 feet above sea level, high in the Colorado Rockies.
Where the air is thin.
But the breathing is easy.
And life is hard.
But the living is good. Good morning. At least good morning for us. It's a bright and beautiful morning here at Off Grid with Horses. We're starting our day. Well, we've been going through our day. Alex, what have you done so far?
Oh my gosh. Well, I was up just a little bit before 5 and let the dogs out and fed the cats and went out and fed haze to the horses and put masks on the appropriate horses. And then I went out and I gave Merlin his first feeding. And all that was done by about 7. That's about when Merlin finished. Then I had a few other things that I was working on out there. I was watching him to see how he is doing and what I might be able to do to help him better. And I think I'm going to try to give his toes a little trim sometime this week, but we'll see how that goes. Now we're doing the podcast, and that was my plan for 8 a.m.
And so what's the rest of your day after we get done with the podcast?
I will be doing the actual breakfast for all the horses. That means grains in our world. So we have lots of carrots that are involved and a whole bunch of different bowls because all the horses don't need grains, but all the horses have to have grains so that they're happy and they feel good about themselves and they don't feel like they've been left out and they were naughty horses, because we want them to know when they're naughty horses. We don't want them to think they're naughty when they're not. Then we've got to do the hay bonnets. And what that is those are our multi-day slow feeders. So we can put up to 8 bales in those, sometimes more depending on the size of the bale. And that lets the horses be able to, it has a big net over and it looks kind of like an igloo and the net's on the inside and it's rather complicated. And we have it on a little platform because we have, no matter where I am, I've always had trouble with getting mold in hay. And so we have built a little platform out of 4 pallets and 2 full-size pieces of plywood. And then the hay bonnet rests right over the top of that. And under the hay bonnet, on top of the little platform that we've made, go all of the bits of hay.
Yeah, the hay bonnets that's a brand name, is a hay bonnet. And for the most part, they work pretty well. We get about 8 farm-size bales in there, and a farm-size bale for us is about 3 feet by 2 feet and weigh about 60 pounds. And that they work okay. They're not perfect. They have a net inside, so it's a slow feeder so that the horses can't eat too much too fast. The one problem that we've had with them is they taper up. Say they're like an igloo shape. And so if it's snowing or raining hard, it will rain inside it because there's 2 windows on each side. There's 4 sides and 2 windows on each side. And since it tapers up, well, the bottom part of the window is out farther than the upper part of the window. And so when it's raining, it just rains inside, or when it's snowing, sometimes it'll fall off the top and just snow inside and collapse inside. And that's just kind of a pain in the neck. But for the most part, it's better than throwing hay 4 times a day or 3 times or whatever you choose to do. We used to do it 4 times a day before the bonnets, and that's just a tremendous amount of work. Alex has been a little cranky this morning. What's going on with you, Alex?
Well, I think it's just that there's such a big schedule thing going on with the day-to-day. There's so many extra things to do on top of all the things that already need to be done every single day. And so I tend to get disgruntled, I guess, when that occurs. And so I am just having a kind of morning.
Yeah, and I have to leave this afternoon. I still work outside of the ranch. The ranch doesn't turn a profit. We would like it to turn a profit someday between the camps and the podcasts and everything. But right now, it is not turning a profit, which means I still work to try and pay for all the horses. Horses can be quite expensive, and we have a number of them. So that's what's going on so far today. And we are now putting more and more on Instagram. Alex, how do people find your Instagram?
Well, my Instagram is Alex Horse Yogi. And of course, that's spelled weird. It's ALEC as in cat, Z as in zebra, HORSEYOGI. And that's my Instagram place. You can also see some of my fun little escapades on my YouTube channel. And my YouTube channel is simply Alex Adams. And that's ALECZADAMS on YouTube.
And we also have a YouTube channel for Off Grid with Horses and an Instagram channel with Off Grid with Horses. I don't think the Instagram channel has as many Instagrams or the YouTube as Alex has. She tends to post them and then I get a hold of them and then I try and get them on the Instagram. And there's a few Instagrams from my posting. I think Alex has a few more on hers, but you can then follow along with us, see what we're doing. And when we talk about like the hay bonnets, you'll actually see a hay bonnet. And when we are talking about the horses, they're all on the Instagram. So I've been solo for the past week or so. And then Alex went solo. So we've both been really busy here by ourselves. While I was solo, we had a few adventures. Marty escaped, and he escaped by just walking out the gate. We have a friend of ours that helps with poop, and he was bringing the wagon out the gate, and Marty was just right beside the wagon, and he opened the gate, and he pulled out the wagon, and Marty just walked out, and Marty ran around a little bit, but he was pretty good. The other ponies started to scream and holler, and Karma started to scream and holler a little bit because, as we've said before, whenever a horse gets out, they all go nuts. And he just stood there, he ate some hay, and ate some grass. I tried to catch him and was not successful. So I told my friends, well, I need to get a halter and a lead rope so we can wrap the lead rope around him. And my friend just kept watching him and walking around with him. And my friend decided that he could probably catch him if he had something to wrap around his neck, and he decided to use his belt to wrap around his neck. Now, my friend is thin. He's fairly thin. When he took his belt off, well, then his pants started to fall down. So he had to hold with one hand, hold his pants up, and then he managed to get the belt around Marty's neck, and it was able then to lead him over. But it was a bit tenuous for him, trying to keep Marty with one hand and keep his pants up with the other hand. Then, of course, Fern, as we said before, Fern has gotten out once before, not too long ago, and I guess she decided that she wanted to get out again. And so a few nights ago, Fern got out again. Fern got out because the gate wasn't lashed correctly. It just wasn't, the bolt wasn't in right. And as a result, then the gate opened. And of course, Fern took that as an opportunity. And she did the same thing that she did before. She just walks around all of the horses, says hi to everybody, eats a little bit of grass. And then, of course, all the horses go totally nuts and are running around and bucking and jumping. They're crow hopping and they're throwing their heads around and whinnying and making all kinds of noise. But Fern was pretty good. She just walked around a little bit, and we got a lead rope on her and got her back in. Anything that you want to add on Fern's latest escapade? Did I account that story correctly?
I do believe so. And Fern does have a new, I'd mentioned putting masks on the horses. Fern has muzzle because she eats too much, even with the slow feeders. And we got a new muzzle. It finally arrived, and I'm very excited. It's called a grazing muzzle, and this one allows her much more airflow. So I don't feel so concerned that perhaps she's having any kind of issue with not getting enough oxygen into her body so that her body can perform properly. But that has nothing to do with her escaping.
And then, not to be outdone, Marty escaped again.
Yep.
So what happened? I wasn't here when Marty escaped. What happened? Bob was here, and what took place? Do you know?
Only by what I have been told. From what I understand, Marty went out exactly the same way that he did with your friend, and he wandered around a little bit, and then he was caught, and then he returned. He's pretty easy going. He's like, yay, I'm out. Don't put me away. Well, okay.
So between Marty and Fern, we've had them out 4 times total. I'm not sure why. We've gone a long time without a horse getting out. And when they get out, they don't really want to go anywhere. They don't want to leave. They want to stay with all their friends, but they like walking around, especially Fern. She just loves walking around all the horses, and then she rubs it into everybody that she's out and they're not, and they get all upset. And
now, you always say they get out and they walk around. They don't actually walk around. They get out and they gallop and they freak out, and we go, oh my God, they're going to break their legs on the trees that are behind the pens. And then sometime later, they finally start walking, and then we get to capture them.
Anyway, so that's been the exciting parts with flying solo. Merlin's doing well. Why don't you give an update on how Merlin's doing today?
You know, Merlin is progressing on along in his reality. He has better days and he has not so better days. Right now, I think I'm going to try to do, because our farrier, and that's the guy who trims horse hooves, to make sure that they stay at the right length. In the wild, they would not naturally knock them off, but when we have them in captivity, it's not possible for their bodies to take care of themselves the way that they would otherwise. And so he's old and he's fairly unstable. The horse, not the farrier, although we have had those as well. So he's been unstable enough that he has scared our farrier. He's only been doing it for, I think, like 5 years or something like that. And he doesn't want the horse to land on him, which is completely understandable and just as it should be. However, what we need to do is, I have a lot of experience with having worked with horses' feet in all kinds of different conditions. And so I'm going to try to get his feet a little more in control. He has what we call flares on the sides because of the way that he kind of crab walks and like spins around. He has pressure in places where normally he wouldn't. So his hoof is growing out places where normally it wouldn't. And of course, he doesn't have all that much time left, most likely, but we want his time to be the most comfortable it can and not uncomfortable. So we're going to do our best to fix that up.
And in the last few weeks, we've had a lot of rain, which is great because we're in a drought. So we've had a lot of rain, which is just wonderful. However, poor Merlin, he's slipped a few times and fallen. And so we've pushed him up. What we do is when he falls, we get him so that he's sitting up more or less and give him a nudge, and then he's able to stand up. And we have cameras, and the camp that Alex was leading past week or so has had the opportunity of watching it. What'd the campers do?
Well, they were oohing and eyeing. Everybody gathered around. It was really pretty neat because we were able to say, hey, this is going on where I live, and this is this horse, and this is his story. And come here, I'm going to help walk Russell through helping him to stand up. And so the kids gathered around from 8 years old to 15 years old, and everybody watched. And it's really a fairly simple process. You just get near him, and he doesn't really like people near him all that much. And then he starts to struggle up, and you put your hand on his withers and shoulder to stabilize him and just kind of counterbalance him as he stands up. And so everybody got to watch that, and it was neat and it was quick, and Russell did it perfectly, and it was awesome to be able to share.
And we use wood chips when we have a lot of mud.
No, we use shavings.
Shavings, that's true. Okay, wood shavings, not wood chips. Wood shavings when we get a lot of mud out there, and we sprinkle these shavings and make kind of a carpet of shavings in the paddock when there's a lot of mud for Merlin. The other horses don't need that. But when a horse gets unstable, we had an old Belgian freak before and named Solomon, and we would do the same for him because he got rather unstable, and he was more of a challenge because he weighed about 2,000 pounds. Merlin's not so big, so Merlin we can deal with a little bit more easily. But we sprinkle these wood shavings down, and that gives him a little bit more traction, makes it a little bit easier for him to walk around. Now it's not raining quite so much, and so he's getting a little bit better traction just on the ground itself. But we still have the wood shavings down. So we're running out of time. Anything you want to add, Alex, before we say goodbye?
No, I think the horses have had a really great week. I've had a great week. I think you've had a great week. Happy great week.
We'll talk to you next time.